Alrighty YouTube, welcome back to Rat 10. In the last video, you saw me struggle to come up with an intake manifold, and to open up, I actually have one little oopsie. I don't know if you can tell, but the manifold is now obviously painted black and looking shiny. I tried to record this once, my GoPro crashed, deleted all the footage I recorded, so I've only gone as far as to paint the manifold where the second oops comes in because my dumbass forgot that I still have to weld a bracket for the throttle linkage and a brace for this because there's a ton of weight hanging off that one end. Don't worry, I will do that in this video still. I would also like to open up this video to address some fuel concerns with this ugly disaster. So obviously fuel has to come from the throttle body here, inject straight down to the throttle blades into this pool of a fuel chamber, make its way through this tube into the engine. I did take this into consideration, which is why I have angled this tube slightly towards the intake. So if fuel does pool, the vacuum will at least draw it towards the engine instead of sitting in there. So I don't think it's gonna be terrible, but it's not gonna be great. There is also the fact that this is gonna be completely charged with air and boost, and this whole tube is gonna be full of fuel vapor, and anything flowing from here to get into these two ports has to make a super sharp turn to get down into there. These ones are far away, so they might get a little fuel starved. I'm not super concerned about it. This is just to get the truck running. I do have plans to use, this is half of a fuel rail from the same tune port I had all my other parts from. I do have plans to use this because the injector spacing on this rail is so damn similar to the intake ports of this engine. I do plan on putting some injector cups and some hold downs for this fuel rail on top of this manifold with a inline fuel pressure regulator to go back to the tank eventually. This is gonna happen in the future. Don't you worry, this is not the final design. And for just a little more reassurance to show you that I'm okay with how this is probably going to run terribly, and because I went through the effort to dig them both out, I'm gonna show you very briefly these factory 2.5 manifolds. Now yes, these are already better in the fact that they don't have that giant tube to run through to get into the engine, but these are equally terrible in their own ways. Fuel has to go straight down, hit the intake manifold on the bottom to then distribute through a port which is about this big inside of this intake. Yeah, right there. This teeny weeny little port is feeding both of these guys, and obviously same on this side. So already the fuel and flow dynamics of this factory manifold is pretty garbage. It is better than what I've built, don't get me wrong, but it's nowhere close to optimal. And then for whatever reason on the Fiero intake, this is from an S10, this is from a Fiero, they added this funky wedge in here to further block up the intake manifold. I don't know what GM's thought process was there. I don't know which of the two came first. Either way, seeing these and how kind of garbage they are makes me a little bit more okay with mine, even though it is significantly worse. I understand that. The one other feature, I guess you could call it, of this is along with the slant towards the main part of the head, the back wall of the box is slanted up this way, so if fuel does pool, it will be able to at least make it into the tube. So with everyone's concerns hopefully out of the way, let's move into making a bracket to support this to start off. So to start off here, for building a little brace to hold this up a little bit, actually there's not a lot of weight on this, but I do still want a brace. Part of me thought of just using the dipstick as a brace. It is somewhat solid, it's held in down there. Maybe not, probably not a great idea. The second option is running a little piece of steel from the corner of this down to one of the bolts on this cover. What do I want to make that out of? Okay, actually to start, I'm going to take this off to weld a mount to this. Give me 1 second. Okay, super ugly. I actually stacked 2 nuts just to get some distance. Whatever. Okay, now that can get bolted on. Okay, I made up some quick mounting tabs. One for the bottom of, this guy over here. And one for this guy over here. Oh, my poor paint. God, I'm so stupid. I'm not used to freshly painted parts. Now I have this little chunk of steel here that I'm probably just gonna run down from up top to down there. Call it good. Literally just go cut it with a grinder and hope it lines up. All right, how did my random cut work? Actually, that might be pretty good. Okay, this guy will cut around here. Alright, how did that work out? Oh, too long, but that's okay. You know what? That's not that bad. Okay, I have my mental picture. This is definitely the most barbaric I've ever made a bracket in my life. It's not that bad. Cut that again. Wow, why can't everything I make up randomly go this easy? Alright, yeah, okay, let's go weld that. Wow, that is solid, dude. Holy. Ooh, if I can get the damn thing off. I'm gonna need some die grinding. Oh, it just melted my paint. Yuck, look at that awful fitment. Oh, whatever, we're just gonna weld it together. But guess what? I'm not gonna show you these welds because they're gonna be ugly. All right, here's the absolute trash heap of a bracket that I just welded up. It's a good thing no one's really gonna see it hiding down here because it is disgusting. The fit's not that bad either. The holes might still even line up. Wow, that's rare. I diagrammed a bunch of that weld out too so it fits a little better. I don't think it's cold enough to handle barehanded yet, which is lame. Does the 3/8 bolt still line up? If I flex it, perfect. Okay, so it's actually got some support. That is actually pretty impressive. Wow. We're gonna call it good and we're gonna leave it there. Oh my goodness, and it is actually, well, it's got flex, but it at least supports the weight. Alrighty, the throttle body can go temporarily back installed. Okay, now I know the throttle bracket's gotta go somewhere over here. The throttle cable, which is just hiding back here, has to start from here at a minimum. It can go a little closer in, it'll just have sloppy pedal syndrome. Whap, whap, whap. For this, I might just rob the old one off of my other manifold. Let's go look at it. Looking at this intake again, I have modified this once already. As you can see, this funky adapter bracket, I had to move, I think this from, how did this mount? This used to mount this way to pull the other throttle. It was a weird, like, cantilever setup for the throttle. It was janky. This sheet metal is super thin, but you know what? I could probably cut this piece off and weld that right around the tube. Let's try that. I mean, that way this will at least look pretty intentional if I do it properly. Oh, come on, I could do that so easily. I'm gonna take this and cut it off flush right here and like dead in line with that on the back. Okay, wow, that actually worked out way better than I was expecting. Yeah, I think I'm okay with that. It flows all right. I cannot see what I'm currently trying to weld. Oh, I missed. Okay, that's better. Look at that. That doesn't look that bad. Okay, I'm gonna go in the truck and hit the throttle quick just to verify it actually works. Ha, hell yeah. Full throttle, no problem. All right, let's get this monstrosity out of here and weld that fully and then properly paint it. Okay, I got the throttle bracket welded on. I'm starting to clean up some of the painted areas. It's gonna give the whole thing a nice re-scuff as well because I ruined it so bad. Alright, time to sit and dry for basically overnight. Alrighty, next day. Doesn't look too bad. Oh, what the hell? Some real janky shit in the corner here. It's starting to crinkle up. Maybe it's the clear in the paint. Right here it did some funky stuff. I don't really care. It looks okay. Is it the most flowingly functional thing in the universe? Probably not. It's got a nice curve to it. It's consistent. What do I care? We can go bolt this on permanently. All right, here's what I picked up. This is just a Felpro gasket sheet. I don't know what the best one's gonna be here. Yeah, so this is like valve cover style cork. This is water pump stuff. Well, I guess Chevy intake manifolds also use this stuff, don't they? You know what? That's gonna decide it. I'm using this because of... yes. Well, it's something. Okay, so I'm actually gonna reuse the original gasket for the engine side. I'm gonna put some silicone on these, just wanna make sure this is all good. Oh, you know what I forgot to make? Ah, damn it, I can't bolt this on yet. I need I gotta put longer studs back in the middle too, because I forgot I need to make some tabs to hold down the exhaust manifold in its other spots. God. All right, hang on, I gotta change some studs out. You know, I don't think those are even gonna be long enough. I might be doing this with bolts. That's lame. I like studs because they have a better clamping force, but if I have any studs longer than this, I won't be able to get the intake on and off. Okay, let's see if we can make some kind of clamps for this manifold. Oh, but now I don't have a way to hold this middle one. Okay, I found some longer studs for the middle. I would love to have a one-piece gasket for this side as well. I don't have one. I'd have to fully fab something out of this kind of material. I don't know where to get this material. I guess we're just gonna have to live with it this way. Huh, this is lame. If I could find another one of these, it would work. I don't know where to source Mercruiser parts from though. Cause yeah, I'm gonna have even gasket overlap between these two, which is lame. Ugh. Oh, this is gonna suck, man. This is where this starts to create problems, because I can't get this on here like that. Studs are too damn long. All right, I need to take a sec. Okay, well, for fabrication purposes, the little studs are going back in. Okay, I literally need a piece of steel to hold down this manifold and this manifold at the same time. Probably do that with a chunk of 3/8 plate and a nice grind out of it. Here's a way to make some lemonade out of lemons. Since I have 3/8 steel with holes cut in them already to fit this setup, I'm gonna hack the sides off of them, make some little flanges to grab those tabs on the manifold and call it good. Oh, wait a second, I didn't record any of that. Oh well, I got them all cut. Okay, I actually have a little bit of a different idea here. This is a 3/8 nut. This is a 3/8 drill bit. Now the theory is with this guy now drilled out, just comparing the thickness of how much I actually have to add here, 3/8 nut spaces me up a little bit too high. I can use this as a spacer to then make a flat piece of steel instead of some stupid stepped piece of steel to grab onto that, and I think we'll be okay. That's how this garbage is gonna be held together. I should probably shave the nuts down a little bit, probably on the back too, eh? Take just a little bit off the top of that one. All right, like perfect. Okie dokie, these 4 are all done. One of them is slightly thinner than the rest, which will go up front here, and just make some plates. I think out of 1/4 inch steel, because I was gonna do 3/8, but that's kind of excessive now. Okay, you're not gonna be really able to see the inside ones or the rear, so I'll demonstrate this on the front. Will fit nicely between the runner and grab the tab of the exhaust manifold. So I'm just gonna take a mark of where to drill my hole, and that's basically it. Okay, so right about there. I'm gonna drill that hole out to 3/8, and that should be pretty good. Get a quick deburr. Should be good to go. This should now let us be able to throw this guy on here. Yes, look at that. Now thread a nut onto that. And that will now pull down the intake manifold and the exhaust manifold on one stud. It needs a little bit of prettying up, obviously. You might go round the corners off and just put a little bevel on the edges, But other than that, I'm gonna go make the other ones and we'll be good to go. All right, we are all done. I wanna show you what I did, because it's gonna be a nightmare memorizing these damn things. The bolts I now have to use are super long because of all this extra junk I have on here. This is not optimal in any way. I understand that, but I'm making it work. On each of my tabs, I have punch marked them. So this is obviously number 1, and then I have 2 dots, 3 dots, 4 dots, just so I can keep track of the damn things. And then for my own reference, dot is facing out, and dot is towards the cylinder it's clamping down. I have considered welding these nuts to these little plates just so I don't have all this extra moving junk. To be honest, I'll probably end up doing that now that I'm talking about it, because I kind of like that idea, because it's solid, man. Which means I can take this completely apart, seal it up, and hopefully bolt it all together permanently. I have come up with an idea for a gasket. I'll show you, because I did have those ones that I cut out for the intake flange. I don't want to use them. I mean, if I have to, I will, but I have a different idea. I don't want to show you. What I'm going to do for the other side of this plate. Now, usually if I'm making my own flange gaskets, I like to do them out of copper. Copper is obviously, it's a nice malleable metal and it fills in gaps. I've never had issues using like really thin copper as long as your fitment is fine. Finding a piece of copper this big and cutting these holes would kind of suck. So while I was at Canadian Tire buying some more gasket material, because that was my first idea, I found this, which is a big ass sheet of aluminum. It is 0.025, which is thicker than copper I usually use. It's not as malleable as copper, but I think in a tiny form of a gasket, the fit of everything is pretty good, and then with a little teeny bit of copper silicone, I think this will work. Hey, that's not so bad. Come on, that's not that bad, right? Oh, that's not that bad. That's a gasket. It ain't pretty, but it'll serve a purpose. I'll see why it wouldn't work. Okay, this thing does have some sharp edges on the inside, so to get it as true as I can, I'm just gonna hit it real quick with a flapper. Let's slap this all together. Okay, with that gasket all done, we can start putting this thing back together, starting with copper silicone on literally everything. Okay, the original gasket's gonna go back on. It's kind of shit in some ways, but I don't care because it's gonna work. Great, that is good enough. That should be more than adequate for sealing this garbage. Yeah, she's got some smushage. Other gasket, which means another layer of silicone. I'm really hoping this homemade gasket actually works half decently, but it should at least do better than nothing. And the advantage that it's now held by the 2 bolts instead of the individual holes. This can now get chucked back onto those studs. This might be a bit heavy on the silicone. Ooh, it's a good thing I did it on the manifold.
Up the geometry and then...
Okay, with that big amalgamation of silicone and gaskets and BS, throw the intake back on. Silly little tabs here, which I did end up welding the nuts to, by the way. So then I can just stick the bolt with a washer and a spacer, maneuver that into place, and get her going. Okay, I just have those snug down a little wrist tight. We're gonna give the silicone just a little bit of time to set up. It is 8:17, I'll come back at 8:45 and tighten them all down. Okay, the little brace that I built can go onto the bottom of the intake as well. But you know what, that's good enough. I mean, hell, when you see the gasket I'm using and the shape that it's in, I mean, yikes. Okay, we'll line this guy up. Come in close enough. On my old TBI, well, sorry, not old TBI, on my old engine, I realized that the single stud holding the throttle body on would actually flex so much under 7 pounds of boost, this would come off entirely. So I upgraded to the 3 studs you're seeing here. And to hold the throttle body down, because I didn't want to just hold it all down with one set of bolts, I made these steel tube spacers. You throw that on with a washer, and the lock washer, and a nut that you have to crank all the way down the stud. That way you can bolt the throttle body down independently and then bolt the hat on top of that. It actually works pretty damn good. Same thing, I'm just gonna do these slightly hand tight to let the silicone set. Okay, I'm gonna fish the throttle cable back through its hole, hook it up to the throttle body, put the clip on for the final time for now. It is good to know that the blade's open properly too. Okay, with that waiting to cure, that gave me enough time so I can tighten all this down. Ain't got no torque specs either, we just do tight as tight. Really hoping all this junk seals. Oh, okie dokie. She done. Okay, I got distracted, and after I tightened up the manifold, I did go back and tighten up the throttle body as well. So that's all good to go now. Everything up here is all sealed, which is great. Now that everything's in and all sealed up, there's a few more little things I want to do up here, and one of them is getting the starter in place. I'm sure I've went over it in the video at least once before, but just in case I haven't, this is a PowerMaster PowerMax straight drive starter, high torque mini starter, and it's got this little solenoid offset. It's about the best fitting starter I could get in here. I actually ended up going through about 5 different ones, between ones that me and my dad had and ones on other vehicles and ones that I bought brand new that didn't end up working, and this one fits perfectly. I did have to shave a little bit of the block to get the solenoid to fit in the location I want so it's not touching anywhere on the frame, and other than that it fits great. In one of my engine assembly videos I discovered I needed about 3 shims to get proper clearance to the flywheel teeth. This is about the easiest starter to change I've ever seen in my life. Now that that's hanging off the far bolt, slide in our shims. She is tight. Cool, that's one more item off the list. Okay, so with all that done, the starter, the intake, the exhaust, everything is assembled and it's all sealed up. There's one more piece that I want to put on here for today's video, and it's been kind of absent throughout maybe the whole video, and that would be my now very shiny aluminum valve cover. Yeah, check that out. That turned out so good, and man, does that really complete the engine. I didn't personally polish this. My dad is actually much better at it than I am. I did do my own turbo housing, and as you can see, the color of the polish is completely different. Might just be the angles on it and whatnot, but regardless, my dad did an incredible job, and I can't thank him enough for doing this for me. This now completes the entire engine assembly, for the most part, aside from the accessories, so maybe not so complete. But it's essentially ready to be run. And that's actually what's gonna be happening next time. Next time you see me, I'm gonna be installing the fuel lines and the wiring that I made for the tank that I actually made months ago. Fuel lines wiring for the fuel tank, joining them up to the front of the engine, plumbing the fuel lines into the throttle body, sorting out the distributor, hooking up some sensors, and then actually running this. So I hope you enjoyed that, and stay tuned for next time because it's gonna be a big one, and thanks for watching.